week and where you're taking us to this week. Father, we want to learn more about research, and we hope and pray that as we learn, it will help us to improve and further our careers. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. All right, so I'm very sure you can all see my screen. As usual, if you have any question, please put it on the chat box and we'll have a time for answering questions. Now, one may say, oh, we know how to use Microsoft Word, you get. Why do we need to learn about Microsoft Word and so on and so forth? And I would say, yes, you've all been using Microsoft Word, probably in our own different ways, and we all have different levels of proficiency in the use of Microsoft Word. And I can tell you, every day I learn something new about Microsoft Word every day. So it's really been a learning curve. And you realize as you learn more and more that there are even more and more things that Microsoft Word can do for you, okay? So we're going to just assume that we don't know much and try to learn as much as we can. And if you have any specific questions, please drop it on the chat box. But I'm going to focus on some key hacks, shortcuts, and ways that we can improve ourselves. Now, number one aspect that we're going to look at today is how to create and use formulas and equations in Microsoft Word, because I know that some of our projects may need us to use formulas, and sometimes we just write it in a lay manner because we don't really know how to do that. Then we also want to do how to create a table of content, okay? So that's also very important, and making it automated. So most times I realize that people have written 100 and something page document, and creating a table of content, we have to now take the headings one by one, then we now look for the pages, and we now fix it and put dot, 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 dot. But it's pertinent to know that Microsoft Word can do that automatically for us, okay? It can do that automatically for us. I also want to talk about a little about Grammarly. Microsoft Word is not what you can learn just in one day, okay? It has a lot of features. And I also want to know how we can format and edit our documents such that it's of a particular standard, okay? It's of a particular standard. So we'll just take the few we can. We're going to have another session on Microsoft Word. I'm not teaching you how to type or how to do all that, but we'll just start with the basics, okay? So basically, I'm going to start by copying some text. All rights reserved, but I will just be using a piece of text here to do this training for today, okay? All right. Okay, so remember I mentioned Mendeley, and I said you can use Mendeley in making your references. So that's not what we are going to talk about today. So let us start a tab after the other as much as we can. Now, how do you, you know how to type, you know how to put your enter to go to the next line, okay? You know how to probably make it left, justify left, center, right, or justify a line. Justify a line means that the left and the right borders as much as possible are on a straight line. Now, how do you put in formulas and equations on Microsoft Word? So like you can see for this particular study, there is a sample size formula here. So most time what I realize is that like what has been done here, you can see that there's a Z squared PQ, but as I've highlighted it, you can see that it has been underlined. And on the next line, we've typed the D squared. So ideally, this is not the best way to put a formula in Microsoft Word because sometimes it can get scattered, okay? And this also, you can see the underline and Basically, this has been put on the next line. So the best way to put your formulas and equation in Microsoft Word is to use the insert. So this is insert. And at the extreme right, you can see equation. You can also see advanced symbol. Now, it depends on the version of Microsoft Word that you are using. You would see this there. And like I always say, these are practical sessions. So it would be ideal that as we are doing this, you're also practicing it at the same time. So under the equation, you can either click on it or you can click on the drop-down arrow beside it to pick a style of equation, or clicking on it to just be the same as saying insert new equation. Now you have seen this equation that has been inserted here, and it says type your equation here. Now you ask yourself, what kind of equation do you want to type? And in this box underneath here, you can see a variety of a lot of equations. Now, generally speaking, let's just start from the basic equation of x over y. So you may want to say ax over y, or 80 times 500 divided by 20 times 2. Now, most times where we use this formula and equation is in calculating our sample sizes. Now, this is a sample size for proportion of one sample. So we want to write this equation z squared pq over d squared. So it's basically this format of x over y. So I'm going to choose the drop down beside it. And do we want it to be a straight x over y, or do we want a slant with one higher than the other, or do you want it on the same line, or a small fraction? So it all depends on what you want. So there are 4 different ways you can express x over y. So I would choose this first way. And on the numerator, if you use your cursor or use your arrow key to get to the box on top, now that box will be highlighted. Anything you type will enter into that box. So I want to type z squared, and when you're on the equation, this squared, x squared, that is the superscript and subscript icons, do not work when you're under equation, because it's assumed that you should pick the kind of equation that you want from there. Now I want to say z squared, although if you type 2, see the way it shows. Are you seeing that? So basically, even under this equation, I would like to indicate that I would like a formula that has a superscript. So you can see this is a script, e raised to the power of x. So I'm going to go to the right-hand corner, and I want this because I want to put a z here, and I want to put a squared here. So I'm going to put that in there. So this is my z, and that is my squared. So you can see the z square has been written. And now I'm going to put my capital PQ. Underneath it, I want a d squared, not just a d. So I still go back to my superscript icon, right click on it. This is for a superscript. This is for a subscript. This is for where you have both a superscript and a subscript. Like for standard deviation, if you want to say S1 squared minus S2 squared, you will be using something like this. So now let's go back. I want a superscript because I want to put d squared. D is for difference, so that's a small letter d. So you can see that I have put in my equation. And why it is important to make your equation like this is such that you can actually highlight it. You can highlight it, you can copy it, you can still paste it in another line, Control C and Control V. It's in the middle because it's in justify align. If I want to take it to the left, I will just highlight it by these 3 dots by the left and take it to left align. Highlight it, take it to left align. Okay, so I have created a simple equation using the equation insert and equation. Insert and equation. Now, under the same insert and equation, you can see a lot of symbols in this box here. So sometimes you want to put plus or minus, and we don't know where to get it. It's here under your symbols. So you can be writing an equation that says A, then you come and put plus or minus, insert equation, and you say A plus or minus B. Now you can use plus or minus even outside an equation. If you don't want to insert an equation, you just want to insert a symbol, you have to come here where it says symbol. Some say symbol, some say advanced symbol. So this is basically where you insert a symbol outside an equation. So if I click on symbol, it may show differently in your own computer. Amongst all these symbols shown here, I don't know if you can see the pop-up box that showed here. You may not be able to see that. So you click on plus or minus and click insert and close. So that is A plus or minus B. Now we use plus or minus a lot when we're talking about mean plus or minus standard deviation. Okay, mean plus or minus standard deviation. And once you have inserted some of those symbols once, you can always copy and paste it. So mean plus or minus standard deviation. So you may be writing and you may be saying the mean age of girls was 35 plus or minus 2.5 years. Okay, so basically that's how you look for that symbol, and there are still many more symbols here. So if you go to advanced symbol, you will see a lot of symbols. You will see alpha, you will see beta, you will see approximately, you will see so many symbols depending on what. You will see summation. So this summation, sometimes we want to use it depending on the kind of work you're doing, probably to tell us the formula for what you have used in making some calculations. It's not capital E. Capital E is not summation. So all those mathematical symbols, you can find them under advanced symbols. If you want to make an equation, depending on the kind of equation, go to equation. Now let's make another kind of equation. I will go back to equation. I will click on it, and the different ways an equation can be made will be delineated here. So do I want to do nth roots of something? I would be using this. So let's say I'm making an equation that has a root in it. So I'm going to right click on it. You can see it here. If it's a square root, it's already given here. If it's a cube root, it's already given. But if it's an nth root, you want to be the one to put the root in by yourself, okay, you would choose this. Now I have chosen that, and I want to make an equation that says the fourth root of 500 perhaps. Okay, so you can see how it has come out. So there's a lot you can do with insert equation. A lot you can do with insert equation. Now I want to make an equation to calculate sample size, okay, of a mean. And we all know that for that, you basically go to insert equation. It's something over something. So it's x over y. So I'm going to choose this. Those that are raising up their hands, please, can you make use of the chat box, please? I'm going to take a brief break, take some questions before I continue, okay? Make use of the chat box, please. So it will be something like this. Forgive me if I don't get the equation properly, but I know that for 2 means as a comparative sample size, you want to put S1 squared, so it's S1 squared plus S2 squared. So you can see the way it's coming up. It's not the way you want it to come up. So that is why you need to know how to use your equation so that it comes out exactly the way you want it to. And there's something they call Z alpha. So sometimes you may want to say A because you don't know how to get alpha, plus Z beta. And that is going to be all squared. Okay, all squared divided by D squared. So if you don't know how to use your equation, this is how your formula is going to be. And this won't be correct. So now let's make it properly using the different options under equation. So I'm coming back again. I've inserted a new equation. I'm going to go to fraction, which is x over y, and still choose this same kind of fraction. Now, because I want to have S1 square, S1 square means that there is an S, there's a superscript, and there's a subscript. So I'm going to go back to my insert equation. Under where I have scripts, which is this e raised to the power of x, I'll take the drop down beside it. And I'm going to choose this one that has both superscript and subscripts, because that is what I want. So this is S1 squared. You can see this is exactly what you're looking for. Plus is already on your computer. You're going to insert it again. S2 squared. Then close your brackets. So you can see that this is what you want to do. And there are options to do that. Then you're going to be multiplying that by Z alpha. Now, Z alpha, the alpha is a subscript. It's not on the same line. So I'm going to choose this subscript that has the letter and a subscript. So I'm going to put alpha, and remember that alpha is a symbol. So I'm going to come to this column here that has the symbols and look for alpha as a symbol. I can see alpha here. It is a symbol, and that's capital Z plus Z beta. So that's still another symbol. And you can see beta is just beside alpha. And that's Z beta. What we should have done before this was to choose, because we need to put the square in at the end. We should have actually taken this as the initial one. So because I have not done that initially, so this is the squared. Now this box, I'm going to copy all that is here. I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to insert inside this box here. So you can see, compare this to this, and you can see that this is actually what you need to put in the equation, but this is actually what came out because you didn't know how to do that. Now the denominator is d squared, so it's still a superscript. So I'm going to select that superscript, put squared in the superscript, and put my d there. So we can see how we have created our formulas. Now I'm going to pause a bit and see if we have one or two questions to answer. The drop-down options isn't visible. So do we have any questions so far? I'm sure I can take one or two before we move on. Vivian Ile, you can talk. Your hand has been up for a while now. You can unmute yourself and speak. Please, if you want to ask a question, kindly raise up your hands and you'll be allowed to unmute yourself and speak. Okay, Adagbasa, were you raising up your hand or not? All right, so in the absence of any question, we'll just continue. Ijoma Ejike, so your hand has gone back down. All right, so I think there are no questions for now. Let's continue, okay? All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is how to insert your table of contents automatically into your Microsoft Word document. How to insert an automatic table of contents. Now, when typing in Microsoft Word, can you still see my screen?
Yes,
we can.
All right, so when typing in Microsoft Word, you realize that sometimes it's not clearly cut out, right? You need to be able to indicate your headings and your subheadings. Now, there are things that are called page break. So if you want a particular heading to start on a new page, please click in front of where you want the page to start from. Go to Insert, and under Pages, you would see Page Break. Page Break. please click on page break. It will take that heading or that sentence to start on a new page. Now, why is it important? Sometimes you've arranged your work. If you keep using enter, 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 later when you delete some things, that page that you want, that I should actually start a new page, probably is a new chapter, would come up because you have deleted some items. But if you have used insert page break, instead of just pressing enter, it will still remain there. It wouldn't shift, irrespective of how many things you delete before that particular heading. That's number one, okay? Number two, you have what we call headings and subheadings. Now, under your home tab in Microsoft Word, you would see these, I don't know what to call them, but they're called formats or formatting, okay? I think you can see my cursor moving all around them. This is where you add headings and subheadings. You can change the style as you want it to be. You can change the type of font. You can wait till the end. And the important thing about that, if you use this to insert your headings and subheadings, once you don't want a particular font or a particular character size for all your headings, all you need to come here and do is change the style of the heading, and all the headings that you have indicated in your work will automatically update to the new style. Now, what are we talking about? Let me come here, formulas and equations. I want that to be my heading. Probably I have chapter 1. So this is chapter 1, okay? Chapter 1, and I want it to be in the middle. Hope you know that if you press Control E, if you're using the Mac, Command E, it takes your work wherever your cursor is, that line to the middle. If you've highlighted a range of lines, it's for center align. If you do Control R, it's for right align. Control L is for left align. So I want it to be in the middle, okay? So chapter 1, probably this is now 1.1. And I use the tab key. Now, why is it important to use the tab key instead of the space bar? The tab key will give you equal amount of space, and it will make everything in your work uniform. So after writing 1.1, you want to use tab so that the spacing between the 1.1 and the heading is the same for subsequent headings also. Now, chapter 1 is a heading. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go under, this is home, if you want to know where to get it, and this is formatting. Now, under formatting, you see normal. Normal means everything you're typing that is not a heading is going to take that font style. Then you would go further, you will see where it says heading 1, heading 2. You see where it says title, subtitle. Okay, now what you're focusing on is on heading 1, heading 2. Heading 1 is the major headings. Heading 2 are subheadings. Okay, so I'm going to highlight heading 1. You can see that my chapter 1 has changed because I've told Microsoft Word that it is a heading. And the font it has changed to and the color is that as stipulated in that heading. If I don't want this style anymore, I will go back to heading 1, right click on it, and I would want to modify. Modify means that I want to tell Microsoft Word the character I want, the style of the font, the size, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to change it to size 14. It's still on Calibri. I may want to change to Times New Roman, and I want the color to remain black. Here it is light blue, okay? And it is still named heading 1, and I say okay. So you can see that it has changed. And if I had several other headings that I labeled as heading 1, they will all change just by changing the specifications of this heading 1. Now 1.1, I want to tell Microsoft Word that 1.1 is heading 2, meaning that it is a subheading. Okay, so I'm going to go to heading 2 and click on it. You can see that formulas and equations have automatically changed to a subheading, and that is the specified color type of font and everything, but I want to change it. So I'm going to right click on it and modify it. In modifying it, the font size, I want it to be 12. I want it to be Times New Roman. I want the color to be black. Those are the things that I mean by modifying it, okay? Another, the type of heading, it is heading 2. Now, why is it important to indicate your headings and your subheadings? That's because if you indicate your headings and your subheadings, when you're creating your table of content, it automatically picks those headings and those subheadings and fits it into your table of content. And as you keep changing headings and subheadings, all you need to do is update your table of contents, and that is all. So now I'm going to go to, that is chapter 1. So let us say this is chapter 3, methods, okay? So I want it to be on a new page. So I'm going to insert page break, like I thought you. Then I'm going to put this as chapter 3, methods. And I want it to be in the middle, so I'm going to center it, Control E. Now this is chapter 3, methods. Chapter 3 is a heading. So that is home. Under home, I'm going to change it to heading 1. You can see that it has changed. Whether it's in the left or it's in the center, it doesn't really matter. Now, methods is also heading 1 because it is the heading of chapter 3. Now, study area may be 3.1. And that is going to be heading what? 2. So I'll highlight it and click heading 2. So as you're typing your work, you're telling Microsoft, for this is heading 1, this is heading 2. You can even have heading 3. So probably under study area, probably you have study design. Let's say study design under study area. So let's say 3.2. And this is also heading 2. Study population is 3.3. And this is also heading 2. Now, inclusion and exclusion criteria, probably there is 3.3.1 because it is under study population, right? Good. And I would say this is heading 3. So you can see you have up to heading 3 here. So you can decide, you want this color to remain, you want to change it, you like the font or not. If you don't want it, all you need to do is go to heading 3, double click on it and modify it to the font size, type of font, Times New Roman. If you want the font size to be a little smaller than the previous one, if you want to italicize it, change it to black, all you need to do is, so you can see that it has changed it. I put it in italics and I increased the font, I reduced the font size to 12, okay? And that is heading 3. And any other heading I put as heading 3 will show like this. So under sample size determination is still study population, that is 3.3.2. So once I highlight it and I click heading 3, automatically it has formatted to the style I want you to. Now study instrument is 3.4. It is what? Heading what? It is a second subheading. So that's heading 2. And I go to data collection process 3.4.1. That's heading 3. And data analysis 3.4.2. This may not be the exact arrangement for your work, but this is just for illustrative purposes. Ethical consideration may be 3.5. Okay. And that's a second subheading, heading 2. And references is going to be 3. So there's no 3 point anything for references. So that is a heading on its own, heading 1. Okay. Now I have put all these headings. I want to create my table of contents. Now I come to where I need my table of contents to be, right? And I go to insert. I go to view. Let me expand this, please. So you can also insert your page number, or you can also leave that till the end of your work. I'd like to remove this space. All right, so under references, on the left here, under references tab, you will see table of contents. You will see table of contents. So you're going to click on the arrow and choose the style of table of contents you want. What style do you want? So there are like 4 styles. You can also customize your own style, okay? So I'm going to choose this first style here. And you can see my table of content has been automatically added. I didn't need to type chapter 1, ... page 2, chapter 3, ... page 3. I didn't need to type all that, okay? And you can see that this is your table of content. If I change formulas and equation, okay, let's put this in a different, let me put a page break here. So let this start on its own page. If I say chapter 1, 1.1 is no longer formulas and equation. 1.1 is now sample size formula. So I have changed a heading. I don't need to change it in table of content. All I need to do is to come to my table of contents and update it. So once you click on inside your table of content, you see a little arrow by the side of the heading there, table of content. You just say update table. So it asks you, should you update only the page numbers or the entire table? So I'm going to say that it should update the entire table. And as you can see, the heading that says formulas and equation has changed to sample size formula. The same thing, as you move your work from page to page, chapter 1 is no longer on page 3, is now on page 4, is no longer on page 5, is now on page 10. You just need to keep updating your table. So far, you have indicated your headings and your subheadings. Your table of content automatically updates. And as you can see, it has arranged it in a major heading, a subheading, a major heading, subheadings, subheadings. So you can see how it has arranged exactly how you want it to be. So the heading 1s are all starting on the same line. These are the heading 2s, and these are the heading 3s. So I'm going to pause now and take a few questions before we move on. Okay. You didn't get how Chika Salami is asking, will this be applicable to a Google laptop? I guess so, because although this is Microsoft Word, I'm not so conversant with how to use a Google Doc, okay? But I'm sure a Google Doc would have its own way to create a table of content. I didn't get how to create the table of content. Okay, I'll just do a quick recap, okay? All right, so I'm going to recap how to create a table of content. I think that's the major question that is being asked. So please, just a quick recap on how to create a table of content. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to remove this table of contents. So basically, we started from how to create formulas. I'm sure nobody has really asked that, though someone asked, but that's a long one. Probably, why not? This is not going to be exhaustive for Microsoft Word. It's a lot of features. So we're only able to take 2 today: how to make your formulas and how to make your automatic table of contents, okay? So I'll recap on table of content. For you to know how to create a table of content, you should know how to make your headings and your subheadings. So under your home tab, you would see your formattings. So if you can see my cursor, you would see that all these are types of formattings. The first one says normal. Normal just means that your regular paragraphs, write-ups that are not headings are all under normal fonts, okay? Then you have, ignore this because I'm the one that puts this. I'm going to remove that. So you have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. As you keep creating headings, you can have as many subheadings as you want to. So heading 1 is a major heading. Heading 2 is under heading 1. Heading 3 is under heading 2. Heading 4 is under heading 3, and so on and so forth. And we know that in our dissertation, sometimes, not all the time, we indicate our subheadings as in Roman numerals, okay, as 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on and so forth under chapter 1. Chapter 2, the same thing. You have 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. Peradventure, you have a smaller heading. It will now be 1.1.2. I hope we all get that. You are familiar with that numbering system. Now I'm saying that if you have a major head like chapter 1, introduction, this is a major heading. So it's going to be heading 1. All you need to do is either you highlight it or you just click on the line where the heading is and select heading 1. So I'm going to modify it to say heading 1 should be center aligned because I think it's disturbing us. So chapter 1 is heading 1. Introduction is also the explanation of chapter 1. And once you click on introduction and click on heading 1, you can see it automatically has formatted it to a heading. If you don't want this font or this size or the color, all you need to do is go to heading 1, right click on it or double click on it if you have, depending on the laptop you are using, to bring out the options, and go to modify. So modify, you can change, you can format it. I chose Times New Roman. You can decide which one you want to choose. The size of the font, I chose size 14. You can choose any one that you're supposed to use. You can make it bold. You can make it underlined. You can make it italicized, depending on what your own default heading style should be. So, and you say, okay. So I have made mine bold, Times New Roman, size 14. And you can see there, chapter 1, introduction, and in that format. Now, this is a subheading under chapter 1. So I'm going to format it as heading 2. So all I need to do is to highlight it and click on heading 2. And it has made it a subheading. And so on and so forth. Now, this is chapter 3. This is a major heading. I've clicked on heading 1. This is methods. Is also a major heading because it is the meaning of what chapter 3 is. Then study area is 3.1. It is heading 2. Okay. Study design 3.2, heading 2. Study population is 3.3. I'll click on heading 2. Now, inclusion and exclusion criteria are under study population. So I put it as 3.3.1. So it is a subheading under 3.3. So it's going to be heading 3. You are the one to choose which heading it falls under. 3.3.2 is also heading 3. That is a sub-heading. And you have study instruments 3.4 is a subheading. And as many subheadings and sub-subheadings. And sometimes I see people even having up to 3.4.1.2. That's a sub-subheading. So that will be under heading 4. Now, when you're done putting all your headings, as you are typing, you are indicating a major heading, you are indicating a subheading, you are indicating a sub-subheading, you are indicating a sub-sub-subheading, depending on your numbering system or how you're formatting your work. Now you go to the page where you want your table of contents to be and click on it and go to references. References. So if you're under references, you're going to go to table of contents under references. Can you guys still hear me? And click on it and choose the kind of table you want to insert. So I've chosen the first one and I've automatically inserted my table of contents.
Soon be back with us.
All right, I'm sorry for that break. I'm back and I'm ready to take questions now. Okay, so I hope we got how to create our automatic table of contents. So if you have any questions, please raise up your hand. One of the panelists will unmute you and you'll be able to ask your question, please. While I'm sifting through the ones on the chat box. Is anybody raising up their hands? Meredith, please, can you permit them to talk, please? Okay, so today we took table of content and equations. Probably by next week, we would take other questions because someone is asking about page numbering. We didn't talk about page numbering today, okay? All right, is somebody asking a question? Some people's hands are raised. If we can enable them to speak, that would be nice.
Hello, ma.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, just to take it back a little bit, when you were explaining the table of contents, your network went off when you were about to click the references. So we didn't get that last part of the explanation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. So I'll just delete the table and create it again, okay? I hope that's fine. So in deleting your table, you just click on it, click on this drop down arrow and click remove table of contents. Okay, so you can always remove it. Now click on the page where you want your table of contents to be. Click on references, and on the left hand corner there, you see table of contents. Now you click on the drop down arrow beside it, and you can actually choose the type of table of contents you want to insert. Okay, so I'm going to insert table of contents. I'm going to choose the first style. There are different styles depending on your preference, and that is my table there. Now, like I was explaining, as you make changes to your document, you can update your table, okay? So if you've changed the page where chapter 1 is, you must update your table. You must click update. At least the final work before you're ready to submit, you must update your table. So if I've taken chapter 1 to another page, probably from shifting up and down, and I have changed this subheading from sample size formula to just sample size determination, and several other changes I have made in the document. Instead of methods, I've said materials and methods. So when I created my table, it was not so. So I'm going to go back to where I have my table of contents. I'm going to click inside the box and go to this drop down arrow at the top left hand corner and say update table. So having updated my table, I will be asked, do I want to just update the page numbers or the entire table, meaning both the page numbers and the text? So if I say okay, everything updates. So I clicked on update entire table. So you can see that the subheading that was sample size formula has changed to sample size determination. The page number of chapter 1 was page 3. Now it's page 4. And materials and methods, before it was just methods. So it has updated your table based on the headings and the subheadings. Okay. Do we have any other question, please? I may not be able to recap creating formula today. I'm so sorry because we've run out of time. So the required font size, depending on your requirements, some headings may be size 14 while your write-up is size 12, but check with your writing body to be sure what your requirements are, okay? All right, so I've been able to recap the concluding parts. Okay, please, can we unmute the next person to ask a question, please? Do we have any hands up or all hands are down?
All hands are down.
All right, thank you. Do we have any more questions on the chat box? Okay, like I said, I may not be able to take creating formulas today. Okay. So if we have any other question.
There is one more question.
All right, please go ahead. Go ahead, please. We can hear you.
For all you taught. Please, I would like you to please help me. If I want to add a portrait, maybe like I have a white table and the page, the only way it can show is landscape. Sorry, I want to make a page landscape inside the other, and then the other pages are portraits presentations. How can I do that, please?
You want to make a particular page landscape and all the other pages are portrait presentations. Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so let me see if I can just do that quickly. Okay, so while I'm trying to do that, I'm going to post a link on the chat box so that we can actually fill in our survey as usual. Like I said, we just want to have your feedback. Okay, so it won't take you more than a minute or even 30 seconds to fill in. Okay. All right, so basically, I hope you can still see my screen. If you want to make a page portrait while the other pages are landscape, all you need to do is highlight the particular page where you want to change the orientation. Okay, make sure you're on that page at the beginning of that page. Okay, and you go to layout. So this is layout. So you go to layout. Under layout, you would see orientation. So the first is margins, the second is orientation. Click on the little arrow beside orientation and you would see portrait and landscape. Now, if you just click on this directly, it's going to change everything from that page onwards, okay? And that's not what you want. So you have to go to the drop-down menu that is beside it so that it opens up a bigger box for you to specify what you really want to do, okay? So you have to actually go to more options. So you want to actually have more options to choose from. Unfortunately, my system is not opening out everything for me. So if you have a Windows laptop, okay, you'd see a little arrow here underneath it. Under that little arrow, if you click on it, it will open a pop-up box. So in that pop-up box, you would change the orientation to landscape and you would indicate which section you want to modify. So you would say this page only. Under that options, you would say this page only. If you have made your work into, you can say, if it's from that section onwards, you can say point from this point forward. So you would see those different options. You would see this page only, you would see from this page onwards or from this point onwards. So if you only want to make that page landscape, you say this page only. And even if it mistakenly changes the orientation for everything, you can always go to the next page, right? And go back again to orientation and tell it from this point onward, take it back to portraits. And the previous one that was changed will remain, but from that point onwards, it will take it back to portraits, okay? I'm sure we'll take this in more detail in subsequent classes. Today, we just spoke about how to make a formula and how to create your automatic table of content. So I'm sure those of us that were here from the beginning, and if you had the opportunity for a recap, we're able to get as much as we could for today. So on this note, I'd like to say thank you very much. We'll have more sessions on Microsoft Word, and I hope they will all be enlightening. Please, on the place where it says in the feedback menu, right? In the feedback form or survey form, where it says that you have any other thing you want to add, please, if you have any session you would like us to repeat, or if you have any session you would like us to go back to and take it again, indicate it in that feedback form where it allows you to make some comments. Indicate it in that feedback form. The majority, where we have a lot of people asking for a recap of a particular session, we would fit it back into the schedule. Okay, thank you very much. I see one person's hand is up. We'll just take that final question and we are done. Jafar Haliru, please speak.
Thank you very much, Ma, for the wonderful presentation and for the time you spend in guiding us. I don't know, Ma, whether this some of these sessions are very important, and then it's very difficult for one to follow and learn everything in one session. So sometimes you might need to go back to practice, and then with time we get to know some of these things. So I don't know if some of the sessions can be shared that for the benefit of revision.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
We'll share them. We'll share them. Okay. Sorry for the delay in sharing them. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Chechek Ujile, please. You can unmute and speak, please. Ujile Ichechek. All right, probably a hand is down. Oye Fabi, please go ahead.
Okay, Ma, thank you, Ma, for this wonderful presentation.
You're welcome.
That has been very nice. Yes, Ma. Just as my colleague have said, we'll be looking forward to the recorded message so that we can play it again and again and get perfected with what we have shared. Dear Ma, concerning the issue of the landscaping between portraits,
yeah,
what I usually do on my own side is to click on the, anytime I want to do that, I just put my cursor where you have said, just on the page we want to change. Then I click on break. At break, I see the next page. So once I select the next page and click on the little where I get over that kind of situation. I don't know if you get my point, Ma.
Okay,
hello, Ma.
It was breaking a little, but I think I get your point. Someone that
yes,
question, I hope
yes.
you understand. So you click on break and it goes
yes,
to
Ma.
the next page, then you change the
yes,
orientation.
Yes, Ma, it will change. That's what I do
So
normally
how do you prevent it from changing the orientation of all the pages after that page? That's what that lady was asking.
Yeah, yes, Ma. Once that one change, once that page changes to that will be the only the page selected will be the only page that will change. The other page will still remain.
So that
you
page
understand?
selected, is it your final page or is it a middle page? Is it the page in the middle or is it at the end of your work?
Yes, Ma. It will be in the middle. Then the other page can now continue as the portrait.
So you highlight that page.
Yeah. Yes, Ma.
All right.
But I still think that even the one you mentioned, if we can get that one, that should be a very perfect one, where one can just select the page. That would be another very good one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Boyega. All right, so I hope people that asked that question were able to get some respite from that, from the responses. Please do well to fill in the survey form. And like I said, if we have any recap that is in popular demand, we would do that recap. Okay, so in the comment section, put in a particular topic you feel we should actually take a second time or even a third time, and we will do that. Thank you so much for today. I would like my president, Dr. Diamond Tonya Bennett, to give a final vote of thanks before we close for today.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, my double capacity vice president. Capacity in brain, capacity in doings. Thank you, our esteemed listeners. We want to say a big thank you for always coming back for this very important training. And special thank you to ARD PTH Congress for always being our strong support. It's same time, same station. We always want you to come back and, let's learn together and make our future great together. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you very much.
And I also want to add that even if you've not taken the topic, but it's something that you have in mind that you want to learn about, please just put it in the chat box, okay? That would help us to also schedule it. So even if it's not a previous topic that has been taken, but it's something you would like us to take, you can also put it in the chat box. Oyefabi, is your hand raised or is it just?
No, my issue has been addressed already. Sorry for raising the hand.
Thank you very much. All right, so just say a brief prayer and we'll call it a day for today. Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you for the success of today's session. As always, thank you for as many that has joined in today. And we thank you that we have learned one or two extra things to add to our body of knowledge that we already have. We ask that you will keep us in spirit, soul, and body to join again same time next week. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. All right, thank you everybody and have a lovely week ahead. We're not on strike, but our trainings are not on strike, okay? So we are still here every Sunday. Thank you.